I'll never forget the moment I walked into my living room and saw my 8-year-old son, Caleb, sobbing into his little sister's hair. My 10-year-old daughter, Sienna, looked up at me with wide, terrified eyes and asked, "Mom, why didn't you tell us you were leaving?" My heart stopped. Leaving? I wasn't going anywhere. When they told me that my own parents, Martha and Dale, had sat them down and said I was moving far away and starting a new life without them, I felt like the ground disappeared under me. My children actually believed I was abandoning them. My chest burned with anger and heartbreak. In that moment, I knew something inside me had snapped. I was done letting my parents control my life. What would you do if your own parents told your kids you were leaving them without even asking you first? Tell me in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. Before this nightmare, my life was simple. I was a single mom working as a freelance graphic designer from my small, cozy house in Portland. My kids, Caleb and Sienna, were my entire world. My parents, Martha and Dale, lived just 20 minutes away. They were the kind of people who believed they always knew best. Ever since my divorce, they made their disapproval of my choices very clear, from the way I raised my kids to the fact that I didn't go back to my corporate job. Still, I allowed them to visit the kids regularly because I wanted my children to have a relationship with their grandparents. Everything changed last Friday. I came home from picking up groceries and heard muffled crying. Sienna was holding Caleb's hand, trying to calm him down. When I asked what was wrong, she said, "Grandma and Grandpa told us you're moving away and you're not taking us with you." I froze. They went on to say that Grandma told them I needed to live my own life and that they would take care of them from now on. The image of my kids sitting there, terrified and heartbroken because of a lie, was seared into my brain. That night, after I put my kids to bed, I sat in my kitchen shaking with rage. I had trusted my parents, trusted them, with the most precious thing in my life, my children's sense of security. And they had shattered it. I called my mom immediately. She answered casually, like nothing had happened. "Mom, what did you tell my kids today?" I demanded, trying to keep my voice from cracking. She sighed dramatically. "We just told them the truth. You need to start over. You can't raise them properly on your own. They deserve stability." My hands gripped the phone so hard my knuckles turned white. "I never said I was moving away. How could you scare them like that?" "We were helping," she insisted. "They need to prepare for the fact that you're not capable of doing this forever." I hung up before I said something unforgivable. That night, Caleb had nightmares. Sienna crawled into my bed and whispered, "Please don't leave us, Mom." I held them both until they fell asleep, silently promising I'd never let anyone make them feel this way again. The next day, I tried to sit down with my parents and explain how much damage they had done. They brushed me off, said I was too emotional, and that they knew what was best. That was the last straw. For years, I had tolerated their controlling behavior because I didn't want to cause conflict. But now, they had crossed a line I could never forgive. I stopped crying, and I started planning. For the next few weeks, I played nice. I still let them visit, but I kept my conversations polite and short. Meanwhile, I started writing everything down, every comment, every manipulative thing they said to my kids. I spoke to a family therapist and explained what had happened. She agreed it was emotional manipulation and advised me to limit their contact. So, I decided to do something my parents would never see coming. I invited them over for a family meeting. They thought I was finally coming around to their point of view. But I was setting the stage for the day I would take back complete control of my life and show my kids that their mom was stronger than anyone ever gave her credit for. The day of the family meeting, I asked the therapist to join us via video call. When my parents sat down, smiling smugly, I started by thanking them for coming. Then, with my kids sitting right beside me, I laid out everything they had said, word for word. My parents' smiles faded fast. "I asked you here because you need to hear from someone other than me how harmful your behavior has been," I said, my voice steady. The therapist calmly explained that what they had done was a breach of trust and emotionally harmful to the kids. She said if it happened again, I had every right to cut contact to protect my children's well-being. Martha tried to interrupt, saying, "We were just..." No. I cut her off. You don't get to talk right now. You hurt my kids. You lied to them. And from this day forward, you will never be alone with them unless I am present. Dale's face turned red with embarrassment. Sienna squeezed my hand, and Caleb looked relieved. For once, my parents had nothing to say. And that silence? It felt like victory. That night, after my parents left, my house felt lighter. I sat with Caleb and Sienna, explaining calmly that I wasn't going anywhere and that they would always be my first priority. Seeing their shoulders relax, watching Caleb finally smile, that was worth everything. I realized something important. Revenge isn't always about hurting someone back. Sometimes, it's about showing them that they no longer have control over you. My parents may never admit they were wrong, but they now know I'm not afraid to stand up to them. And more importantly, my kids saw me fight for them. They saw that their mom wasn't afraid to set boundaries, even with family. It taught them a valuable lesson, that they never have to accept disrespect or manipulation, even from people who claim to love them. In the months that followed, my relationship with my parents became distant but peaceful. They still visited occasionally, but under strict boundaries. The kids are thriving now. Caleb is back to laughing at my silly jokes, and Sienna has started writing in her journal about how strong mom is. And me? I feel free for the first time in years. I learned that you don't have to accept toxic behavior just because it comes from family. My parents' words no longer haunt me. Instead, I focus on building a happy, safe home for my kids, a home where no one makes them feel abandoned ever again. Sometimes, the most powerful revenge isn't about punishing them, it's about reclaiming your peace. I didn't let my parents' lies define me or my kids. I showed them that I'm capable, strong, and absolutely here to stay. What about you? Have you ever had to set boundaries with family, even when it hurt? Tell me in the comments, and make sure to subscribe for more real-life stories like this one.